The FNAF movie drops on October 27th, so here's everything we know about the film in one video, from plot secrets, movie rumors, and even some controversy. Starting with the plot of the film's basic synopsis reads, the film follows a troubled security guard as he begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. While spending his first night on the job, he realizes the night shift at Freddy's won't be so easy to make it through. However, it goes a bit deeper, as based on a few different leaks in the recently released teaser trailer, we also know the main character of the film is going to be Mike Schmidt, famously known as the main protagonist in FNAF 1 and other titles, who, like mentioned, gets a job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza while taking care of his younger sister, who in the film is named Abby. And the last main character is another security guard, being the famous Vanessa, who will be helping both Mike and Abby survive the nights at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza from the main antagonists of the film, which, as you could guess, are the four classic animatronics who, just like in the game, try to kill the entire group. And while the group try to uncover the dark secrets of the animatronics, who are rumored to be the souls of young children, they also have to deal with another villain in the film, being William Afton, the rumored killer of the children who become the animatronics. So overall, the basic plot is mostly just a copy-paste of what we see in FNAF 1, and in fact, in the movie teaser trailer, we could see literal recreations of FNAF 1 scenes as a reference, which I found extremely cool. But now, let's talk about the movie's cast. There's like 100+ people working on the film as actors and everything, so I'll cut this relatively short. However, the most important characters in the film are Josh Hutcherson, who will be playing none other than Mike Schmidt himself, along with some photo doubles doing the same. Piper Rubio will be playing as this new character, his sister, named Abby, which has actually caused some controversy that we're going to talk about later in this video. Elizabeth Leah will play as the Security Breach classic character Vanessa, and there's also been a lot of other brand new character castings like Kat Connor Sterling, who will be playing somebody named Maxine. Mary Stuart Masterson will be playing as another unnamed female villain who still to this day has never been disclosed. And finally, the main movie's villain, William Afton himself, will be played by Matthew Lillard, most known for his classic appearance in Scooby-Doo. So this is actually a pretty great cast. However, if you've played FNAF for a while, you might have noticed that the cast has basically no correlation to the actual games, since Mike's new sister in this film is actually Abby instead of in the real game, where her name is Elizabeth. And also, there's minor roles cast in the film like Jessica Blackmore and Garrett Hines as Mike's parents, which is really weird since Mike's father in the actual game is none other than William Afton, who doesn't really look anything like the father in the film. However, cast aside, now let's move on to the next subject, being movie rumors, because there are a ton of them. For starters, if you didn't know, the FNAF movie of course releases on October 27th. However, the William Afton actor has actually confirmed in interviews that he had been signed to 2 more FNAF movies to end up creating a trilogy, which is something that's actually pretty common in movies like the most recent Spider-Verse films that have already confirmed a trilogy before they even came out. And what's interesting is Scott Cawthon himself, a while back in his Doggo interview years ago at this point, he had said that he wanted to create movies based on FNAF 1, 2, and finally 3. So the rumor is that the first FNAF movie is going to be fully based on the first game, and while we see other characters in this movie from other franchises like the Puppet and Balloon Boy, who has a casting on IMDb for some reason, the next movies are supposedly going to be in different locations, being both the second and third. And in fact, there's even been some light rumors from people supposedly close to the movie that the next FNAF movie is set for production in January of 2024. Now, to be honest, outside of what I just said, there isn't really enough known about these upcoming movies to really jump to any real conclusions. But if nothing else, we can at least confirm that the movie takes place in the original FNAF 1 location, based on the placement of the animatronics that I've already discussed, and also things like the Celebrate poster in the office, which is a one-for-one creations of the actual FNAF 1 models and animatronics, confirming the relationship even if the lore is a bit shaky. But outside of that one interview, Scott hasn't actually confirmed anything about films coming next since, and now that there's literally like a dozen plus FNAF games, there's so many other titles that are deserving of their own film over the third installment to an almost decade-old franchise that came out 8 years ago. However, we do at least know for a fact that there's going to be 3 separate movies regardless of the new movie's performance, so we can at least rest safe knowing that there's more in the gauntlet for the future. Another popular rumor is that YouTubers like Markiplier or MatPat are also going to be in the film as cameos, since Mark specifically has multiple times been asked about the movie and is either extremely vague with his answers or just completely denies the movie's existence entirely, which very much makes it sound like he's definitely going to be in the film to some capacity, especially since in recent times times, people have actually leaked much more in-depth versions of the movie trailer than what we got officially. That definitely leaked the possibility of the movie having cameos, but that's as far as I'm really going to say for obvious reasons. However, the biggest thing I want to talk about with this video, and stuff you've probably already heard about, have got to be the movie's heavy list of controversies. And there's quite a few to discuss, starting with the movie's rating. So if you didn't know, the movie's rating is still unknown, and the only thing we have to go off of is the current leaks and the teaser trailer that we got recently, which was rated in Canada, I believe, as 14 and up, while other countries like Italy have rated it 6 and up. So the trailer, depending of course on the country, seems to be rated between PG and PG-13, which has frustrated a lot of the fan base because one of the biggest criticisms with the new games like Security Breach is that the game seems to target a much younger audience on a horror game that is most well known for its dark settings about horror and murder. So with the FNAF movie finally coming out after being in development since 2015, people were expecting the film to be rated R maturely so that way the game would stay true to its old darker ways. But with these trailer ratings and the relatively censored content of these teasers, people have been genuinely worried that the movie is going to be ruined simply by the potential PG-13 rating that's not even confirmed yet. I think it's a bit silly, but let me know your comments. Another interesting controversy revolving around the film is also that it's going to be releasing both in movie theaters like you'd expect, but also instantly on streaming services. And the reason why this is sort of a problem is that generally movie companies will release things onto streaming services whenever they don't have much confidence in them doing well. Think of things like the straight-to-DVD Disney sequels that you probably didn't even really know existed, compared to things like the Mario movie that were exclusively in theaters and came to streaming services later. There's generally a negative stigma about movies that come straight to streaming services because it sounds like the creators of the own film aren't very confident in it doing well. They have explained and justified the decision in other interviews, and it really is kind of a small complaint, but it is something worth mentioning. The next big controversy regarding the FNAF movie, and debatedly the biggest, is the red eyes on the characters in the posters, because people have pointed out in both the promotional images and sometimes in the trailer that sometimes the characters have these bright red eyes to represent their anger, which has once again caused mainstream controversy on sites like TikTok, with people begging them to actually be removed, saying that they look a bit cheesy or super unrealistic. And while I guess I understand this criticism, once again, it's such a nitpick and I can't really get why people are getting so angry about it. But the final and what I believe is the most valid criticism for the movie is the actual lore, or I guess I should say the lack thereof. Because as I mentioned before, the movie's cast, while taking place in FNAF 1, is completely all over the place, including characters even like Vanessa from Security Breach and completely new people like Abby instead of Mike's real sister Elizabeth. And the reason why I think they did this is, for starters, because they want to have recognizable characters from their newest FNAF game, Security Breach, so that way it still stands modern rather than feeling dated. And they also most likely didn't want to keep the movie too lore accurate to the game as to not confirm or deny any of the very vague theories in the base games. However, what this has led to is some people being upset that the movie is probably not going to be canon to the story at all. And everything we see in the movie, at least based on leaks and the plot synopsis and whatnot, appears to rather be a retelling of the previous FNAF events in a remastered and new unique style that differentiates itself from the games and stands on its own legs rather than having to explain all of the basic lore to people who maybe haven't played any of the games. And while it's all subjective and some people may like this idea rather than having it be too lore accurate, I do find it a little disappointing that the games and the movies are gonna have a large disconnect like that, but at the very least, I understand where they're coming from. There's also been some other minor controversies, like people overall not liking the animatronic models or the restaurant and other small stuff, but those have mostly been minor nitpicks by me and other people in the community. And overall, the movie looks great, and in 4 months, we are going to be sitting there watching it ourselves. Make sure to subscribe to get any more updates on the movie when they do come out, but peace out, guys.